Kentucky basketball just picked up a big-time win on the court against Duke, and it looks like they're about to pick up a massive recruiting win in Caleb Wilson.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we're going to be discussing Caleb Wilson and Kentucky basketball. We've got some news regarding the five-star prospect, and ladies and gentlemen, it is looking like it is all cats in his recruitment. Going to break down what this recruiting class could look like if Caleb Wilson joins, and it's looking more and more likely by the day. And if we're projecting, we're going to take a look at some analytics, we're going to take a look at some bracketology. Somehow, things are not quite right in the analytics world in relation to Kentucky basketball. We're going to break that down on today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can continue your season with a big return on FanDuel because new customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. And if you are watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. And if you are listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. It looks like Caleb Wilson is going to commit to Kentucky basketball. I mean, there's at this point in the recruitment, there is no other way to put it. The five-star prospect is more than likely going to end up committing to the Cats. So, in case you have not seen it, Caleb Wilson, just a couple of weeks ago, canceled his visit to Arkansas because of some things that came up. Some valid reasons. He was going to reschedule. He rescheduled a visit to go see the Arkansas Razorbacks. According to 24/7 Sports national basketball recruiting analyst Travis Branham, Wilson has now canceled his second attempt to go visit Arkansas. It was set for this weekend. He has canceled that visit, and he does not plan to reschedule. Again, this coming from 24/7 Sports analyst Travis Branham. According to Cat's Paws over on 24/7 Sports, John Calipari and the Razorbacks were thought to be among the front runners for Wilson, who was ranked number 5 overall in the 2025 class by the industry average 24/7 Sports composite. After hosting Wilson on an official visit in early September, Kentucky picked up quite a bit of steam in Wilson's recruitment and has been at or near the top ever since. In addition to Kentucky, Wilson has also visited UCF, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Ohio State, and North Carolina. He was at State Farm Arena for the Duke-Kentucky game, tweeting throughout the game, tweeted at the end of the game. We saw who was in the house tonight. That's right, it's UK. Love how this recruitment has gone. It's very clear. Caleb Wilson, excited about potentially coming to play with Kentucky than their current recruits that they have for the 2025 class. Sounds like he's excited to come play for Mark Pope. At this point in the recruitment, I would be surprised if he went elsewhere. Meaning now, over the course of about half a year, 6-7 months, Mark Pope has put together an entire 12-man roster, through the transfer portal and then 3 freshman recruits. He has added, at this point in December, like a month from now, he will have added 3 5-star prospects and a 4-star prospect in Acaden Lewis. He will have beaten Duke, Kentucky's first victory against Duke since 2015. Everything right now is coming up Kentucky. It is amazing what Mark Pope has done for this program. And I'm not saying he's perfect. Who knows? This could be the peak. He and his staff could completely flop for the rest of the year and for the rest of his time at UK. No idea. No clue. But I do know that he has killed it. And I mean killed it so far this offseason and this season. He has done everything that Kentucky has wanted him to do. Kentucky fans have wanted him to do. Caleb Wilson, there was a great article that KSR put up recently breaking down Caleb Wilson and his relationship an interest with Jasper Johnson, Acaden Lewis, Malachi Moreno. We're going to find out soon if Wilson is going to end up playing with these guys. He broke down, kind of how he feels about every individual player. Moreno, Lewis, Johnson. It's a great article. I would encourage you to go check it out. I'm not going to sit here and just read it to you, but it's obvious. Like, it is very clear that Caleb Wilson wants to play with these guys. Like, he has made it abundantly clear. He's talked about the relationship multiple times with multiple outlets. I think he actually had a video interview with KSR as well. He's canceled other visits and continued to talk about how good Kentucky is. He has tweeted multiple times about how he wants to play with the likes of Johnson, Lewis, and Moreno. This should solidify a top 5 and possibly a top 3 recruiting class by the time all is said and done for Kentucky. Let's talk about what this recruiting class is as a whole, and then let's talk about building around that for 2025, because I think that is the conversation a lot of you guys have been wanting to have. And I understand, like, we just started the 2024-25 season, but a lot of you guys are like, man, if we do well this season, like, you're going to look ahead to 2025 and you're going to have 4 guys that you can possibly build around, with maybe some players from this year's squad that stick around. So let's continue to break down Kentucky and their recruiting here. We'll get to it in just a second. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, you can skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, you can save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That is 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Add an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE, COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. All right, continuing along here on the Friday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. I really appreciate you guys checking out Locked On Kentucky today. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Canceling his scheduled visit with Arkansas. Raving about the players that Kentucky has brought in with multiple outlets, specifically Kentucky ones, KSR. Shout out. It's happening. I would be stunned if it does not happen at this point. What is he individually? We've broken it down a few times before on the show. We'll break it down again here. This is actually something that 24/7 Sports provided that I didn't even get when looking at kind of what he's been doing over the course of summer. So as his scouting report has said, and we mentioned him multiple times on the show, he is better as a secondary creator. He is offensively a stronger and more efficient player whenever there are players around him that can kind of take the lead. I think he's stepping into, if he commits, a perfect recruiting class. I mean, you've got Jasper Johnson, one of the most gifted scorers in all of high school ball. You've got Acaden Lewis, a bucket getter as well. And you got Malachi Moreno down low in the post, who is also a very solid post player, a really, really good overall player down in the post. Perfect. I mean, just perfect situation, I think, if you're Caleb Wilson. He has at times struggled with efficiency and shot selection whenever he's kind of had to take the lead or tried to take the lead. But whenever he hasn't, like the EYBL circuit that he was on, I believe, this summer, and during his time at Peach Jam, he was named defensive MVP at Peach Jam. And during the Nike EYBL circuit, he averaged 17.3 points, 7.1 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 2.8 blocks, and 1.9 steals per game, all while shooting 62% from the floor. Hey, 62% from a power forward is pretty dang good. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. His team, Knight Riders Elite, went to a perfect 8-0 record in the Peach Jam Championship. 17, 7, 2, 3, and 2 while shooting 62%. Look, those numbers would be incredibly difficult to obtain in college, but if you can get like a semblance of that, if you can get like 14, 6, 2, 1.5, and 1.5 while shooting 55 to 60% from the floor, you're a lottery pick. Congratulations, bud. You are going straight to the NBA after this. He is a gifted overall player. The big thing that stands out about him, though, is his defense. It's kind of what he's kind of built some of the stuff, built his 5-star reputation on. Long wingspan, athletic guy, a little leaner, but he is extremely versatile defensively. He has done a lot during different circuits defensively. We've talked about it, 3.8 stocks per game, steals and blocks per game. He needs to kind of bring his offensive game along a little bit, but again, at a place like Kentucky, it may not really matter that much because you got so many different guys around you. Number 5 overall player, according to the 24/7 Sports composite ratings. Number 3 power forward and number 1 player in the state of Georgia. That would be joining. Just pull it up here real quick. That would be joining over on 24/7 Sports, a 5-star center in Malachi Moreno, the number 3 center in the 2025 class, the number 1 player in the state of Kentucky. That would also be joining Jasper Johnson, the number 16 overall player, number 3 shooting guard, number 3 player in the state of Georgia, and Acaden Lewis, which, by the way, this is not me just like trying to pick the lowest rated player and be like, oh, he's awesome. Acaden Lewis is my favorite player here. Acaden Lewis, number 30 player overall, number 5 point guard, number 1 player out of DC, 4-star guard. 5-star, 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 4-star. Kentucky right now ranked number 3 in the nation with their recruiting class. This should, if you get Lewis, solidify a top 5 class, and then it should also solidify more than likely a top 3 class, regardless of whatever happens on the recruiting trail for other programs. So you've got 2 guys that could play point. One guy that plays off ball more than likely in Johnson. You've got a power forward and you've got a center. So what do you do to build around that? Well, first and foremost, I think you got to make sure Brandon Garrison comes back. Oklahoma State transfer, played very well so far this season, played very well in that Duke game, former McDonald's All-American. You got to get him to pair with Malachi Moreno. I think that's step 1. You got to make sure Garrison's here next year. Second, I think you have to make sure Otega Dawe comes back. You got to make sure he doesn't enter the portal. You got to make sure he doesn't enter the draft. You got to get him to come, which, by the way, the draft is a possibility. If Dawe continues to play the way that he's playing so far this season, the draft will be calling. He can shoot. He can defend. He can play well in transition. He's a big-bodied, physical wing. Yeah, the NBA is going to want that. You got to make sure he comes back to pair him as an experienced player with Lewis and Johnson. You got to make sure players like Trent Noah and Travis Perry return as depth pieces or players that could possibly step up. Maybe Trent Noah, who knows? Maybe Trent Noah takes a massive second-year jump and he could be starting at the 3 for Kentucky next season if he really does pan out. You got to make sure all of your contributors that are not fifth-year seniors, essentially, come back for this next season. You have to make sure of that because you cannot build the plane out of a bunch of freshmen. We've seen this over and over and over again. You can't build the plane out of that. You have to get some guys to come back. You have to get some freshmen to come in. And you also, I think, would greatly benefit by bringing in some transfer portal pieces. Absolutely. I think Kentucky could do a lot with a couple of different transfer portal guys, particularly at power forward and possibly even at point guard if they wanted to just get somebody in there to pair with Lewis and Johnson. Or really, honestly, pair with Lewis, because I think Johnson would work off ball. You could put Otega at the 2 and let that rock. You have a 1-2-1-2 at point guard and shooting guard. Man, this team could look good, really good next year. Really, really good. Just depends on what you do in the portal, I guess. All right, we're going to wrap up the show projecting. We're going to look at some analytics models. They don't quite have enough information about Kentucky or any team, for that matter. But the way that they look at them is interesting to me. Before we wrap up the show, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. You can get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it's all in one place. So when you get in the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's all over at FanDuel.com. Again, never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, wrapping up the Friday edition of Locked On Kentucky. If we're projecting, which is what some of these computer models are doing, I think we have Kentucky wrong. As of right now, I think some of the major outlets have Kentucky wrong. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to try and do this about once a week to kind of give you guys an update on what's going on. I want to take a look at KenPom as our major analytics site. I want to take a look at the net ratings, which are something that are going to be crucial to Kentucky basketball's resume for the NCAA tournament. And I'm going to take a look at ESPN's bracketology, and I will take a look at better bracketologies whenever they actually update. ESPN's is one of the latest, and it's still trash. ESPN, we got to do better with the bracketology, man. Joe Lunardi, we got to do better, man. So KenPom, as you all know, I love this website. Big analytics website, talks about all different kinds of numbers and stats and kind of shows you what a team is about. Like really, really in-depth stuff. Kentucky right now, still top 35 in the nation in both offensive and defensive adjusted efficiency. That's very, very good. It's very healthy. Kentucky to be top 35 on defense right now, coming out of the Duke game. I didn't know if it was possible. Love it. Let's keep it pushing. Kentucky doing a really good job shooting the three, defending the three right now, according to KenPom. They're doing a good job of grabbing offensive rebounds while also simultaneously preventing them. They're doing a good job not turning the ball over. They're doing a good job with assists. They're pretty balanced in terms of point distribution. I mean, they're not relying on the three as heavily as I thought they would so far this season. Part of that's just because of the way that Wright State and Duke played them. But I think we will see that change over time. Kentucky's one of the most experienced teams in the country. They're one of the deepest teams in the country, top 30 in bench minutes, top 25 in average height as well. One of the tallest, one of the deepest, one of the most efficient teams in the nation. The Kentucky Wildcats playing pretty good. Somehow, some way, CBS Sports has net ratings out, even though the official NCAA website has not updated theirs since last season. But this was updated yesterday, according to CBS Sports. It's also got NCAA on it. So this is from CBSSports.com. This is net ratings. As of today, Kentucky ranked 18th in the net. Duke ranked 10th. Again, this will even out as they get more of a sample size. By the end of non-conference play, Kentucky's probably, and if they win the games they should win, they should be a top 15, top 10 net team. If they're playing the way that, if they continue to play the way they're playing now, they should be a top 15, top 10 net team. The computer models will catch up on Kentucky. Just weird that they're ranked that low, post beating Duke. But okay, I think it's weird. I think it's weird that KenPom still has Kentucky 20th. I think it's weird that CBS somehow has Kentucky 18th in the net. Should probably be just a little bit higher than that. I'm not asking for much. It just doesn't line up with what we've seen. And Joe Lunardi updated his bracketology hours before Kentucky played Duke. So take this as it is. He had Kentucky as a 6th seed. A 6th seed. There are 10 SEC teams that are going to make the tournament, according to Lunardi right now. And I don't think some of these teams are significantly better. For Kentucky to be a 6 and Tennessee to be a 3, I don't know. I don't know. Does not make a ton of sense to me. So that's where things stand analytically. I guess if that's even a word. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK. You can follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_ and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And God bless.